The Galactic Council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished obsidian floor, its ceiling lost in artificial stars. Representatives from 400 species occupied their designated platforms, each floating at precisely calculated heights to demonstrate their civilization's status. The eldest ones, beings of pure energy who claimed to have witnessed the universe's first dawn, presided from their crystalline throne at the chamber's heart. Ambassador Park Dae-ho stood on the lowest platform, exactly 3 meters above the floor. The human delegation consisted of only 5 members, a stark contrast to the hundreds of attendants that accompanied the more established species. His colleague, Dr. Choi Hannah, maintained her composure beside him, though her knuckles had gone white around her data tablet. The human species stands accused of 17 violations of Concordat law, the eldest one's voice resonated through every translator simultaneously. Unauthorized faster-than-light experimentation, weaponization of quantum fields, artificial intelligence development beyond permissible sapience thresholds, genetic modification of sentient species without council oversight. The list continues. Park Dae-ho had expected this. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Council for only 23 standard years, barely a heartbeat in cosmic terms. They had been discovered when their experimental warp drive had accidentally created a dimensional rift, visible across half the galaxy. The Council had been horrified to find a species that had achieved interstellar travel through what they considered reckless experimentation, rather than the guided mentorship typically provided to emerging civilizations. Followed. The letter of every law provided to us, Park Dae-ho replied, his voice steady despite the weight of 400 species' attention focused on him. You have followed the letter while violating the spirit, countered Representative Thaxter, a centipede-like being whose species had served on the Council for 80,000 years. You conduct experiments at the edge of what is technically legal, pushing boundaries that exist for good reason. Your scientists treat reality itself as a puzzle to be broken apart. Dr. Choi Hannah stepped forward. We have shared every discovery freely. Our medical advances have saved billions across Council space. Our engineering solutions have improved quality of life on hundreds of worlds. Your arrogance knows no bounds, interrupted another representative, this one resembling a crystalline tree. In 2 decades, you have filed more patent applications than most species file in a millennium. You have proposed modifications to laws that have stood for eons. You question established wisdom at every turn. The debate continued for hours, accusations flowing from species that had grown comfortable in their stagnation. Humanity's crime, Park Dae-ho realized, was not malice, but momentum. They had burst onto the galactic stage with an energy that made the ancient civilizations uncomfortable. Finally, the eldest one raised a tendril of pure light, and silence fell. The Council has deliberated. Humanity's presence disrupts the order that has maintained peace for 3 million years. Therefore, we invoke the Exile Clause. Earth and all human colonies are hereby severed from Council space. All treaties are dissolved. All embassies are to be vacated. Humanity is banished from Council space for a period of no less than 10,000 standard years. During this time, you are forbidden from entering any system under Council jurisdiction. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. 10,000 years. Every human colony existed within what was considered Council space, discovered through Council star charts. Built with Council-approved technology, Park Dae-ho felt his stomach drop. But before he could speak, Dr. Choi Hannah's tablet chimed. She glanced at it, and her expression shifted from despair to something else entirely. Something that might have been a smile. We accept the Council's judgment, Park Dae-ho said slowly, following Choi Hannah's lead as she subtly showed him the message on her screen. You? Accept. The eldest one seemed taken aback. They had clearly expected protests, appeals, perhaps even threats. We do, Park Dae-ho confirmed. We will vacate all territories within Council space within 90 standard days. We ask only for time to gather our people and depart peacefully. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Council had never seen a species accept banishment without resistance. Most begged for mercy. Some had even declared war, though such conflicts never ended well for the exiled. 90 days is acceptable, the eldest one declared. Let the record show that humanity accepted its fate with dignity. As the human delegation left the chamber, Representative Thaxter approached Park Daeho. I am surprised by your acceptance, Ambassador. I had expected more resistance, Park Daeho smiled, and for the first time since the trial began, it reached his eyes. The Council has existed for millions of years, Representative Thaxter. You've seen countless species come and go. But I don't think you've ever banished a species quite like humanity. What do you mean? You'll see. In 90 days, you'll understand exactly what you've done. Park Daeho walked away, leaving the ancient representative puzzling over his cryptic words. Behind him, Dr. Choi Hana was already on her communicator. Speaking rapidly in Korean to someone on Earth, the message she had received during the trial had come from Dr. Kim Seung-min. Director of humanity's most classified research project, the message had contained only 2 words. It works. Director Kim Seung-min stood in the observation deck of the Sejong Research Station, humanity's largest orbital facility, orbiting a moon at the edge of human-controlled space. The station had officially been designated as a commercial manufacturing center, producing components for standard fusion reactors. In reality, it housed the Threshold Project, humanity's most ambitious and most secret endeavor. Run the diagnostics again, he ordered. Watching as the massive ring structure completed another rotation below the station, the ring measured 50 kilometers in diameter, its surface covered in what appeared to be solar collection panels to any casual observer. Those panels concealed something far more revolutionary. Engineer Lee Hyrie looked up from her console. All systems nominal, Director. The field generators are holding at 99.7% efficiency. The dimensional anchors are stable. We're ready for a full-scale test. Not a test, Kim Seung-min corrected. The real thing. The Council has given us 90 days. We'll need 70 of those just to move our population. That gives us 20 days to make this work perfectly. The Threshold Project had begun 12 years ago, shortly after humanity had joined the Galactic Council and discovered a troubling fact buried in the Concordat laws. The Council didn't just govern the current galaxy. It claimed jurisdiction over all of what they termed known space. Through their mastery of quantum entanglement, communication, and their monopoly on certain rare resources, they could track any ship using standard faster-than-light technology. To leave Council space didn't mean traveling to distant stars. It meant leaving everything humans had ever known, every world they had mapped, every resource they had cataloged. The Council's laws were written to make exile equivalent to a slow death sentence, forcing species to either beg for readmission or fade into obscurity as they were cut off from the resources needed for interstellar civilization. Humanity's response had been characteristically audacious. If they couldn't leave the galaxy, they would leave the universe. How many people know the truth? Kim Seung-min asked. Beyond this station? Maybe 500, Lee Hyrie replied. The other colonies think we're building refugee ships to hide in dark space beyond Council territory. Only the key personnel understand what the Threshold actually does. Kim Seung-min nodded. The secrecy had been necessary. The Council had sensors everywhere, and if they had discovered that humanity was developing transdimensional travel, the response would have been immediate and violent. The Concordat laws didn't just prohibit such technology, they declared it an existential threat to reality itself. The Council wasn't entirely wrong. The mathematics involved in opening a stable portal to a parallel dimension were horrifying. The energy requirements alone required the total output of a star, channeled and focused with precision that would make quantum physics look like simple arithmetic. The first 100 simulation attempts had resulted in scenarios ranging from merely catastrophic to ends the universe as we know it. But humanity had persisted, because that was what humans did. Incoming transmission from Earth, announced the communications officer. It's Ambassador Park. Park Daeho's face appeared on the main screen, and Kim Seung-min could see the barely contained excitement in his old friend's expression. They had been classmates at Seoul National University 40 years ago. both brilliant students who had taken very different paths. Park had chosen diplomacy. Kim had chosen physics. Now their paths had converged to save their species. "Sungmin, I'm transmitting the complete text of the exile order," Park said. Legal went through it with a microscopic lens. "It's actually better than we hoped. The Council prohibits us from entering any system under Council jurisdiction. They define their jurisdiction as all space-mapped and claimed according to Concordat law within the known universe." Kim Sung-min felt a smile spreading across his face. The known universe. They actually used that exact phrase. They did. Which means, once we cross the threshold, we're not in the known universe anymore. We're not breaking any laws, because those laws literally don't apply to space that isn't known to exist. Kim Sung-min laughed, a sound of pure relief. "They've given us a legal loophole the size of infinity. There's more," Park continued. "I've been in contact with the other colonies. Everyone is on board." The moment word spread about the banishment, the colonists started packing. Apparently, people are more excited than afraid. One colony administrator told me this is the best thing that could have happened to us. Kim Sung-min understood the sentiment. Humanity had chafed under council oversight from the beginning. Every experiment required approval. Every new theory had to be vetted against 3 million years of established doctrine. Every innovation was met with suspicion. Earth scientists and engineers had felt like children forced to work under the supervision of cautious, fearful parents. "How many ships do we have?" Kim Sung-min asked. "Every vessel capable of carrying more than 10 people is being retrofitted for long-duration flight," Park replied. "The preliminary count is just over 34,000 ships of various sizes. From personal yachts to colony transports, Earth's population is 18 billion. The Mars colonies add another 6 billion. The outer colonies bring the total human population to approximately 32 billion. The numbers were staggering. Moving 32 billion people in 90 days would be the largest logistical operation in human history. "We'll manage," Kim Sung-min said with confidence he barely felt. "The threshold can remain open indefinitely once established. Ships can pass through at whatever rate we can organize. The real question is what we'll find on the other side." "That's what makes this exciting," Lee Hyrie interjected, unable to contain her enthusiasm. "We've sent probes through microfractures in dimensional space. The physics on the other side are ... different. Not radically different, but enough that certain technologies might work better, or might work that don't work here at all. And the most important part," Park added, his expression serious now, "is that the other side appears to be completely empty. No council, no competing civilizations, no ancient empires that will judge us for being young and reckless. Just an entire universe of pristine, untouched space." Kim Sung-min turned back to the observation window, watching the threshold ring rotate against the backdrop of stars. Somewhere out there, the council was probably celebrating their victory over the troublesome humans. They thought they had contained a problem, exiled a disruptive element. They had no idea they had just set humanity free. "Begin final preparations," Kim Sung-min ordered. "In 72 hours, we're going to do something no species in council history has ever done. We're going to leave on our own terms, and we're going to do it with style." As the station burst into coordinated activity, Kim Sung-min allowed himself a moment of reflection. The council had ruled for 3 million years through a combination of advanced technology and institutional inertia. They had grown so comfortable in their dominance that they couldn't imagine a species that would choose exile over submission. But humans had always been explorers at heart. The council had just given them the greatest frontier in history. The evacuation of Earth began on a Tuesday morning, Seoul time. Transport ships descended through the atmosphere in a coordinated ballet that had taken weeks to choreograph. Each vessel followed precise flight paths calculated to maximize efficiency while minimizing disruption. The sky above every major city filled with ascending and descending craft, a sight that would have seemed apocalyptic if not for the organized calm that prevailed. Captain Yoon Ji-woo commanded the colonial transport Incheon Dream, a massive vessel designed to carry 10,000 people in relative comfort for journeys of up to 5 years. Her ship had been stationed at Earth for routine maintenance when the Council's verdict came down. Now it was one of the primary evacuation vessels. Fourth load secured, reported her first officer, Lieutenant Kong Minhao. That's 40,000 people from the Seoul metropolitan area loaded and ready for departure. The next group is already processing through the embarkation terminals. Gyu-woo watched the organized chaos on her monitors, families moving through checkpoints with surprising efficiency. Personal belongings reduced to what could fit in standardized containers. Children trying to maintain excitement, while parents struggled to hide their anxiety. The people of Earth had responded to the crisis with characteristic determination, but she could see the uncertainty in their faces. "Any word from the Threshold Station?" she asked. Director Kim reports they're ahead of schedule. The Threshold will be ready for transit in 48 hours. All ships are to position themselves in the staging area. Gyu nodded, then opened a ship-wide channel. "Attention, all passengers. This is Captain Yoon. I know these past weeks have been difficult. I know many of you are leaving behind homes your families have lived in for generations. But I want you to understand what we're about to do. The Council thought they were punishing us, sending us into exile. Instead, they've given us the greatest gift imaginable: freedom." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "In 2 days, we will pass through the threshold into a universe that has never known war, oppression, or the stagnation that has gripped the Council for millions of years. We will build something new, something that reflects the best of what humanity can be. And when we're ready, when we're strong enough, we'll show the Council what they lost when they cast us out." The response was immediate. Cheering erupted through the passenger decks, the sound of 30,000 voices united in defiant hope. Gyu allowed herself a small smile. Humans had always done their best work when challenged. On Mars, the evacuation proceeded with mechanical precision. The red planet's 6 billion inhabitants had generations of experience with logistics in hostile environments. The Martian colonies had been built by engineers and scientists who specialized in making this impossible merely difficult. Engineer Han Seung-jae watched from the control center of Olympus Colony as the last of the atmospheric processors were powered down. Mars had taken 150 years to partially terraform, the culmination of humanity's greatest engineering project. Now they were abandoning it. "Seems like a waste," commented his colleague, Dr. Namuna, echoing his thoughts. "All this work, and we just leave it behind." "We're not leaving it behind," Han Seung-jae corrected, pulling up a schematic on his display. "We're taking it with us. Every atmospheric processor, every water extraction facility, every piece of technology we've developed here. It's all been disassembled and loaded onto cargo ships." Mars wasn't just a colony. It was a testing ground. Everything we learned here we'll use to build better worlds on the other side. And if there are no suitable worlds on the other side, Han Seung-jae grinned, then we'll make them suitable. That's what we do. The deep space colonies presented a different challenge. Scattered across dozens of star systems connected by shipping lanes that took weeks or months to traverse, these settlements were humanity's most distant outposts. Mining operations on frozen moons, research stations orbiting exotic phenomena, small communities that had chosen the isolation of space over the crowded worlds of Earth and Mars. Administrator Oh Tae-young coordinated the evacuation of the Kuiper Belt settlements, 17 small colonies built around resource extraction operations. The Council had been very interested in these operations, particularly in humanities. Efficiency at harvesting rare elements from asteroid fields and comet nuclei. The last convoy from stations 7 through 12 has entered the relay corridor, reported his assistant, Park Soo-min. ETA to the threshold staging area is 16 days. It puts them here 2 days before the deadline, Oh Tae-jong calculated. Acceptable margins. What about the automated facilities? Set to self-destruct once we're through the threshold. The Council's survey teams will find nothing but wreckage if they come looking. Oh Tae-yong felt a twinge of satisfaction at that thought. The Council had been very clear. Humanity was to leave behind all infrastructure, all improvements made to Council territory. Fine, they would leave behind ruins and useless slag. Every piece of technology that couldn't be moved would be destroyed. Let the council inherit ashes. At the threshold station, Director Kim Sung-min monitored a display showing the position of every human ship in known space. The image resembled a giant migration. Thousands of dots, moving along carefully calculated trajectories that would converge at the staging area. The coordination required was staggering, but humans had always excelled at organizing chaos. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Council," announced Lee Hyrie. "Representative Thaxter is requesting permission to observe the evacuation." Kim Sung-min considered. The Council was probably curious about how humanity would manage such a massive operation. They were likely expecting desperation, perhaps some last-minute pleading for mercy. Grant permission, but restrict their ship to the outer monitoring zone. They can watch, but they don't get close to the threshold. An hour later, a Council observation vessel arrived. Its elegant design, a stark contrast to the utilitarian human craft filling the space around the threshold station. Kim Sung-min accepted a direct communication from Representative Thaxter. The ancient being's image appeared on the screen, centipede-like form coiled in what might have been curiosity. "Director Kim, I confess, I am impressed by your organization. Most exiled species spend their final days in chaos and recrimination. We're not most species," Kim Sung-min replied simply. "Good. May I ask what that structure is?" Thaxter gestured toward the threshold ring. "A gate," Kim Sung-min said, enjoying the ambiguity. "We're leaving your universe, Representative, completely." Thaxter's translator struggled with the concept for a moment. "I do not understand. There is nowhere to go beyond Council space that can sustain civilization. You will be traveling for decades between even the nearest unclaimed systems. And without access to Council trade, your technology will stagnate." "You're probably right," Kim Sung-min agreed pleasantly. "About Council space, anyway." Before Thaxter could respond, the threshold ring began to glow. Power accumulated over months from every solar collector humanity could build, fed into the dimensional anchors. Space itself began to ripple around the ring, reality becoming fluid as the laws of physics were temporarily convinced to look the other way. "What are you doing?" Thaxter's voice carried alarm now. "Something we're really good at," Kim Sung-min replied. "Breaking the rules." The center of the ring tore open, revealing not the black of space, but a shimmer of colors that existed outside normal perception. Through the opening, sensors detected ... everything. Another universe. Similar enough to be recognizable, different enough to be new. Empty space, but space filled with potential. The first ship crossed the threshold 3 seconds later. Then another. Then 100 more. The great migration of humanity had begun, and there was nothing the Council could do but watch. Captain Yoon Gi-woo felt the ancient dream shudder as it crossed the threshold. A sensation unlike anything she had experienced in 20 years of spaceflight. For a moment, that stretched into subjective eternity. The ship existed in both universes simultaneously. Caught between dimensions in a space where the normal rules didn't apply, then they were through. "All systems reporting normal," Lieutenant Kong Min-ho called out, relief evident in his voice. "Structural integrity at 100%. Life support optimal. Engine status ... Wait, what is it? The fusion reactors are running 15% more efficiently than they should. The power output curves don't match our baseline calculations." Gi-woo pulled up the engineering diagnostics, confirming what her first officer reported. "Get me engineering." Chief Engineer Baek Jin-young appeared on her screen, his expression somewhere between confusion and excitement. "Captain, I don't know how to explain this, but the laws of physics are slightly different here. Nothing dramatic, but certain atomic interactions are just a bit more favorable. Our reactors are more efficient. Our energy-to-mass conversion ratios are better. It's like reality is younger here, more energetic. Is it safe?" Ji-woo asked. "It's safer than our universe, actually. Everything I'm seeing suggests this dimension is more stable, not less. It's just optimized differently." Gi-woo filed that information away and turned to navigation. "Survey status. Running full scans now, Captain. Stars everywhere. Galaxies in every direction. No signs of artificial structures, no communications traffic, no indication of any other civilizations. As far as we can tell, we're the first intelligent life in this entire universe. The implications were staggering. An entire universe, pristine and untouched, waiting to be explored. Jiwoo thought about the council, jealously guarding their 3 million-year-old civilization, and almost laughed. Humanity had just inherited infinity at the Threshold Station. Director Kim Seung-min coordinated the ongoing evacuation while simultaneously analyzing data from the first wave of ships. The reports flooding in confirmed what the probes had suggested. This new universe was not just empty, but ideal for human expansion. Director, you need to see this, Lee Hai recalled. We've been mapping the star systems near the threshold exit point. There's a G-type star 18 light-years from here with a planetary system that ... Well, look at the composition data. Kim Seung-min studied the readout and felt his breath catch. The third planet from the star was slightly larger than Earth, with a thick atmosphere, abundant water, and surface temperatures that ranged from temperate to tropical. The planet was in the perfect zone for human habitation. And preliminary scans suggested complex organic chemistry already in progress. It's a virgin Earth, he breathed. Older than Earth was when life first emerged, but younger than Earth when humans evolved. The perfect starting point for colonization. And there are 17 more planets in scanning range with similar characteristics, Lee Hai added. Director, I think we just discovered why this universe is empty. It's too young. The Council's universe has been cooking for billions of years longer than this one. Intelligent life just hasn't had time to evolve here yet, which means we have a head start measured in eons, Kim Seung-min said, feeling the weight of that realization. We can build our civilization without interference, without constraint, without anyone to tell us what we can or cannot do. Communications alert interrupted his thoughts. Director Kim, we have a situation. The Council observation ship is attempting to approach the threshold. Kim Seung-min pulled up the tactical display. The Council vessel had broken from its assigned position and was accelerating toward the threshold ring. On his screen, Representative Thax's image appeared, and for the first time, the ancient being looked something other than calmly superior. You must stop this immediately, Thaxer demanded. You have opened a breach between dimensions. Do you have any idea how dangerous that is? Reality itself could unravel. We've taken every precaution, Kim Seung-min replied calmly. The threshold is stable. The dimensional barriers are holding. And in approximately 6 hours, the last human ship will pass through and will close it behind us. You cannot simply leave. The Council has questions. We must study this technology. The implications for what, Representative? For the Council's monopoly on power? For maintaining the status quo for another 1,000,000 years? Kim Seung-min shook his head. You banished us. You've severed all treaties, all relationships. We owe you nothing, and we have no intention of sharing what we've built. You're condemning yourselves to isolation, Thaxer argued. Without Council support, your civilization will fail. You'll be lost in an empty universe with no one to trade with, no allies, no infrastructure. We'll build our own infrastructure. We'll be our own allies. And as for being lost, Kim Seung-min gestured at the river of ships passing through the threshold. We've never been more certain of where we're going. The Council vessel tried to match velocity with a passing transport, perhaps hoping to slip through the threshold undetected. Human defense drones intercepted it, not with weapons, but with simple physical barriers. The message was clear. The Council was not welcome in humanity's new home. On Earth, the last cities were going dark. Administrator Cho Kung-sug stood in the Seoul Central Coordination Center, watching as the population counters ticked toward zero. The evacuation had been a logistical miracle. 32 billion people moved in less than 80 days. Final transport lifting off from Incheon, reported her assistant. That's the last one from the Korean peninsula. North America finished 6 hours ago. Africa checked complete an hour ago. We're done. Cho Kung-suk pulled up a video feed showing Earth from orbit. The planet looked peaceful in the darkness, its cities unpowered, its skies clear of traffic. In a way, Earth had been returned to a more natural state, cleansed of the pollution and noise of human civilization. her assistant asked. Leaving Earth behind? No, Cho Kung-suk said, after a moment's thought. Earth will always be our birthplace, but we were never meant to stay in the cradle forever. The Council tried to keep us trapped here, limited, controlled. They just didn't realize that the moment they gave us permission to leave, we would go farther than they could possibly imagine. She sent the final command, and the automated systems began their shutdown sequences. Earth would remain a monument to where humanity had come from, but no longer where humanity was going. At the threshold station, the countdown approached its final hours. 90% of humanity had already crossed over. The remaining ships were the stragglers, deep space mining operations, remote research stations, and the final defense forces ensuring no one interfered with the evacuation. Director Kim Seung-min prepared his own shuttle for departure, but not before programming one last surprise for the Council. The Threshold Ring systems had one final function to perform. Representative Thaxer, he broadcast on an open channel. Humanity thanks the Council for giving us this opportunity. Your exile has freed us from limitations we didn't even know we were accepting. We go now to build something new, something that will dwarf everything the Council has achieved in 3 million years. And when we will return someday, we hope you'll be ready to meet us as equals, rather than trying to rule us as subjects. You're making a terrible mistake, Thaxer replied, though his voice carried less certainty now. Maybe, Kim Seung-min agreed, but it will be our mistake to make. Goodbye, Representative. Enjoy the garden you've been tending. We're going to plant our own. The last human ship crossed the threshold. Then Kim Seung-min's shuttle passed through, and the portal began to collapse, but not before executing its final programmed function. The threshold ring exploded, not violently but thoroughly, its exotic matter components scattering into useless debris. The dimensional mathematics that made it work, stored in quantum-encrypted databases that would erase themselves on any attempted access, vanished into noise. Every diagram, every calculation, every piece of the puzzle was destroyed. The Council would know that transdimensional travel was possible, but they would have to rediscover the how entirely on their own. And given their conservative nature and fear of disrupting reality, Kim Seung-min suspected that research would never be approved. Humanity had closed the door behind them, and only they knew how to open it again. 25 years after the Exodus, the human colony of New Seoul had grown from a temporary settlement into a thriving city of 12 million people. Built on that first discovered planet officially designated Genesis, prime but universally called Eden by those who lived. There the city represented everything. Humanity had learned from centuries of colony construction. Improved by the absence of council restrictions, Governor Han Minho walked through the central plaza, observing the organized chaos of a civilization in rapid expansion. Above him, orbital elevators rose into the sky, carrying raw materials from the asteroid mining operations to the surface manufacturing centers. Around him, buildings grew at a pace that would have seemed impossible in council space, where every construction project required multiple levels of approval and compliance reviews. Governor! The latest survey results from the exploration fleet, his aide Park Jisoo handed him a tablet. We've now confirmed 342 habitable worlds within 100 light-years of Eden. 218 require minimal terraforming. 73 are immediately habitable. The rest need significant work, but are feasible with our current technology. Han Minho scanned the data, still amazed by the abundance they had discovered. In council space, habitable worlds were rare and jealously controlled. Here they were common enough that humanity was being selective about which ones to colonize first. What's the current population distribution? He asked, approaching 47 billion across 93 settled worlds. Birth rates are up 30% from pre-Exodus levels. Economic projections suggest we'll reach 100 billion within 50 years at current growth rates. A century in council space had taught humanity to grow slowly, carefully, always aware that resources were controlled and opportunities limited. Here, those constraints didn't exist. The human population was exploding, driven by both natural growth and a cultural shift that celebrated expansion rather than fearing it. Sir, you have a visitor, Park Jisoo added. Dr. Choi Hannah from the Research Directorate. She says it's urgent. Han Minho found Dr. Choi waiting in his office, and he immediately recognized the expression on her face. It was the same look she'd worn 25 years ago. She'd received the message about the Threshold project succeeding. We've done it, she said without preamble. Full quantum neural interfacing. The council said it was impossible, that the human brain couldn't handle direct digital integration without losing its essential humanity. They were wrong. She activated a holographic display showing brain scan data alongside computational readouts. The breakthrough was realizing that we didn't need to make humans more like computers. We needed to make computers more like human brains. Neurometric processing allows seamless integration while preserving human consciousness, creativity, and emotion. What does this mean practically? Han Minho asked. It means a researcher can interface directly with experimental equipment, experiencing data as sensory input. It means an engineer can design structures by thinking about them, with AI assistants translating intention into precise specifications. It means artists can create works that exist in formats humans haven't even imagined yet. Dr. Choi paused. It means we're evolving, Governor. Not into something less than human, but into something more. Han Minho considered the implications. The council had banned this research, declaring it a violation of natural intelligence. They had been terrified of AI surpassing organic minds, of creating something that might displace their ancient civilizations. How many people have been through the integration process? He asked. 17,000 volunteers. Every one of them reports enhanced cognitive abilities with no loss of their essential self. We're not replacing humanity, Governor. We're upgrading it. Similar breakthroughs were occurring across human space. Without council restrictions, human scientists and engineers were exploring every avenue of research that had been forbidden or discouraged. The results were transforming civilization at a pace that would have been impossible in the old universe. On the shipyards of New Busan, the first human warships took shape. Not because humanity planned to make war, but because the universe was vast and unknown, and preparation was wisdom. These vessels incorporated technologies that would have made the Council's weapons look like ancient artifacts: quantum-shielded hulls, zero-point energy weapons, AI-assisted tactical systems that could process information at speeds biological minds couldn't match. Admiral Lee Dae-sung watched the construction from the command center. Remembering the restrictions that had hampered human military development under Council oversight, the Council had limited weapon yields, restricted AI combat systems, and generally ensured that human vessels could never threaten Council supremacy. These ships would terrify them, commented his chief engineer. Kim Nari. These ships would devastate them, Admiral Lee corrected. Council warships are designed for show and for policing primitive species. Ours are designed to survive the unknown. There's no comparison. Do you think we'll ever go back? Kim Nari asked. Admiral Lee considered the question. Someday. When we're ready. When we have the strength to dictate terms rather than accept them. The Council thought they were punishing us with exile. They actually gave us exactly what we needed: time and freedom to become what we're capable of being. In research facilities across human space, teams worked on the question that had obsessed director Kim Seung-min for 25 years. Could they open another threshold? The original had been destroyed, its secrets seemingly lost. But humanity had learned from that experience. And with the advanced AI systems developed in the new universe, problems that had taken decades to solve now fell in years. Dr. Lee Hyrie, now leading the Threshold Resurrection Project, reviewed calculations with an AI partner named Apollo, a neurometric system with processing power that would have been illegal in Council space. We can do it, Apollo confirmed. The AI's personality matrix displaying satisfaction. Not just recreate the original threshold, but improve it. We can create stable, permanent portals between dimensions. Gateways that don't require destroying stars to power them. Doorways that can be opened and closed at will, long until we have a working prototype. Lee Hyrie asked. 5 years for a small-scale test. 15 years for a full-sized gate capable of moving capital ships. Lee Hyrie smiled. Then in 15 years, we'll be able to go home. Or at least knock on the door and let the council know we haven't forgotten about them. The cultural transformation of humanity was perhaps even more significant than the technological advances. Free from council oversight, human society had restructured itself along lines that reflected their values rather than conforming to ancient alien expectations. Representative Angsora addressed the human assembly, the democratic body that governed all human space. Unlike the council's hierarchical structure based on age and perceived wisdom, the assembly operated on principles of merit and popular support. We stand at a crossroads, she declared to the gathered representatives. We have built a civilization in a single generation that rivals what the council achieved in millions of years. We have proven that youth and energy can accomplish what age and caution cannot. The question now is, what do we do with this power? The assembly debated, as it often did, the question of contact with the old universe. 50 years had passed since the Exodus. By council standards, this was barely a heartbeat. By human standards, it was 2 generations. Long enough for children to grow up who had never known council rule, who didn't understand why their ancestors had once accepted limitations on their potential. I propose we wait, argued Representative Kong Junho. We have time. Let us grow stronger still. Let us explore this entire universe before we consider returning to the old one. The council has existed for 3 million years. They can wait another century for us. I disagree, countered Representative Shinyori. Every year we wait, the council grows more comfortable in their assumption that we failed or died. When we return, we should do so while some still remember us, while they can understand the connection between the species they exiled and the civilization that returns. The debate continued, as it would for years to come. But the underlying truth was clear to everyone: humanity would return. Not as supplicants begging for readmission, but as equals or perhaps as superiors ready to show the council what they had lost. On Eden, in a memorial park at the heart of New Seoul, a monument stood inscribed with the names of those who had led the Exodus. Director Kim Seung-min, Ambassador Park Dae-ho, Captain Yoon Ji-woo, and thousands of others who had made the impossible possible at the base of the monument. A simple inscription in both Korean and Standard English. The council selected banishment for Earth humans didn't stick around, and beneath that, a promise: we will return. In council space, 50 years after the human exodus, Representative Thaxter presented his final report to the HFY destined ones. The ancient being had spent half a century studying the abandoned human territories, analyzing the remains of the threshold, and contemplating what humanity's departure meant. The humans are gone, he concluded. All attempts to track them have failed. The dimensional breach they created has left no trace we can follow.